we dey continue with our JavaScript tutorial. Today, we dey enter the first main topic, which is variables and data types in JavaScript. The most basic building block of any code we will see, no matter how complicated, no matter how many lines that code be, no matter how many pages, no matter how many files, the most basic na variables and data type. Now, may we begin with variables. Variables na how we take the store data at the basic level. Now, like boxes, we will take the store data so that we go fit easily access that data. One of the examples I dey always use to make people understand the basic nature of variables na say, na like storing phone number for your phone. If you get number, no matter how long that number be, you should store am with just one name, so that the next time when you want use that number, you no go need to dey press out all of the numbers or memorize the numbers. You will just know the name where you take store am. And if you use that name, you dey automatically use the number where you store. Be that now how variables they work. Variables they so important because with this simple logic of storing data inside variables, if you use and build complex programs. Just think of them like Legos, or say you they build house. No matter how small the bricks will they use be, if you put all of them together, if you build something big and magnificent. Now, like so we they use variables build programs for programming languages like JavaScript. So how we take the right variables for JavaScript? It is simple. We go say let var or const. These now what we they call our keywords. So you go use a keyword to show say I want create variable. So you go choose between these three keywords where they acceptable for JavaScript, which is var, let, and const. Because they let not the most popular, we go use let to start. But I will tell you later the differences between these three and when you need to use them. So now we go say let, then we go choose the name. When you want to take stock your variable, then you go say equal to, and then you go write the data where you want save. Now, I go use actual example, still using the phone number example. So now let's say you want save the phone number of your sweetheart. You go choose a keyword, let, then you go write the name where you want to store that data. The data and the phone number of your sweetheart. Let's use the name we want to store as sweetheart. So you go say let sweetheart equal to, then you go write the number where you want store. Simple. Now you don't assign this number as the variable name sweetheart. So anytime when you want use this number for your code, you no need to start the type the number. You could just use this variable name where you don't use store and sweetheart. So now, if you check what's inside the sweetheart, you go see say you go return the number, and like that would they take the use variable. And if you use any number, if you use 1, if you use 1 billion, no matter how long the number be, once you don't save them inside one easy word where if you understand as your variable name, you go feed the type that variable name and they use the data where you store anywhere for your program. Variables, they're so versatile. If you use them, save so many kinds of data, not just numbers, which bring us to the next topic, which is the foundational area of learning to code where they tell you about, and now data types. Data types just means you they understand the type of data where you feel use for your JavaScript code, the type of data where you feel save, for example, as variables. Plenty possible data now we get for programming, but the most fundamental ones for JavaScript na numbers, strings, boolean, null, undefined, and symbol. We could use all these data types and we could store them as variables as examples so that you will fit see them. Now, we already examined the number data type. Number data type now any number like phone number of your sweetheart will receive, or the number of times you don't go out, or the number of pi in a circle. Any number, it should be 1, 2, 3, it should be 50, it should be 5 million, it should be 234,000. Any number, the number variable be that. In programming, we they always distinguish between two kinds of numbers. We they call them integers and floats. Integers na whole number. and floats na decimal number. So any number like 10, 100, 50, 500, 5,000, 1 million, we will get points. Any number like that na integer. But if you don't reach points, like say 2.314, 3.149, 5.5, 500.10, 4.499, any number we get points like that now floating point numbers or floats. For most programming languages, that they distinguish between integers and floats as different data types, but it no be like that for JavaScript. JavaScript, both floats and integers now under the same data type, which is numbers. Now, another data type we get na string. If we think of strings as words, but we no get any data type we dey call words. No, we dey call them strings because any word wey you wan use for your program, no matter it's not just one word or phrase or sentence, anytime wey you dey use words and you wan use that words as it is, as data, you go need to put that in quotation marks. So once you add the quotation marks, you don't become strings be that. So basically, any foundational data wey you see with the in quotation marks like this, my string. So let's say I want save my best food as a variable. So I go follow the same approach when we use save our variable name before. I go choose a keyword, let. Then I go come choose the name where I want to use store my favorite food. I go call am delicacy. So I go say let delicacy equal to now the data where I want store, the string where I want store. I go gas the term inside quotation mark. So I go choose bread and I go put this bread inside quotation marks. And I bet you say strings don't necessarily need to be single word. So if you also say let delicacy equal to open quotation marks, bread and egg and tea and plantain and apple and oranges and juice and vegetables and stew and chicken, close quotation mark. So everything with the in between these quotation marks, na the string, na the data where I want stop that. Now, one thing where you know want to when you dey save your string data, you no want forget a quotation marks. Never ever forget the quotation marks because it will break your code. Because the computer no go know say this thing na string. You go think say na maybe variables or keywords or any other thing we dey use for our programming, but it no go know say na string. Now, I get one question for you. If I set my number variable as object, which kind data type it is? Say na string or integer? Well, you dey correct. If I set my number variable as 100, then na integer. Now, what if I store my number variable with quotation marks? Na still the same 100, but now I don't add quotation mark. See na string it is or na integer? Na string. Yes, na string because you don't put quotation marks. So you dey treat them as basically now like word. You know, they treat them as number a thing. Because JavaScript, they do which we they call type conversion. So let's say you use one method to join two variables together, and one of them the number, and then the other one a number with quotation marks. You go turn them both to string. We could talk about this one later, but just know say if you get number in quotation marks, you don't turn string with that. So if you want to store your number as number, no put quotation marks. But for strings, always put quotation mark. Another data type we get na boolean. Boolean are simply true or false. Booleans they useful for programming because we dey use them for so many scenarios like conditionals. A lot of times you will want to check if something they true or false before you move on to the next part of your program. So they use variables will be set as true or false to check these conditionals. For JavaScript, you go write your true and false as lowercase, all of them lowercase, but no quotation marks. No put quotation marks for your Boolean data type, which is true or false. No put them, and make sure say you write them in small letter. For Python, we dey start our Boolean with capital letter, but this one no be Python, na JavaScript with this. So na small letter and no quotation marks. Now, maybe we do quick test again. If I write my Boolean variable, which is true or false, if I write as small letter and no quotation mark, which data type it is? You dey correct if you say na Boolean. Now, if I write out with quotation marks, which data type it is? Na string. So because here you get quotation mark, you no longer be Boolean. You don't turn string. Or as long as you comot the quotation marks, you don't turn Boolean data type again. Two other data types we get my null and undefined. Both of these data types means say nothing really dey inside our code, but na two different kind of nothing, if you understand me. No worry, ma explain. The first kind of nothing we get na undefined. Undefined means say this variable wey I set as undefined, nothing dey there. For now, I never define wetin dey there, but something could still dey there in the future o. Something most likely go dey there. I never know wetin go dey there, but I don detect say this variable exists and I never define am for now. And wetin undefined mean be that. But null means say I don't declare this variable as nothing. No be say I never know wetin I go put there. I know wetin I go put there and na nothing I won't put there. You fit dey wonder, if na nothing you won't put there, then why you can't dey declare the variable in the first place? Because even nothing get in use for JavaScript, and later we go dey use am when we start to dey write small code. Finally, we get symbol. Symbol na another one of the foundational or primitive data type wey we get for JavaScript, even though they just introduce am recently. Symbol are just for some kind data wey be say na unique identifier. And one thing with symbol na say once you create am, you no fit change am. The main purpose of the symbol data type na to act as unique identifier, something wey be say we take dey identify other data for inside wetin we dey call objects. But since you never even learn wetin objects be for JavaScript, no need to go too much into this symbol data type for now. All the most important one wey you need to know: numbers, strings, boolean, null, and undefined. You don't know them already. So now we fit move on to the next part of the lesson, which is to tell you the difference between declaring and assigning a variable. Yes, difference dey between declaring and assigning a variable. If you declare the variable without assigning it, for instance, if I say let sweet ants, or var sweet ants, or cost sweet ants, I dey declare this variable. I be tell the computer say one variable dey will be sweet art, but I never assign this variable to anything. I just dey let you know. I just dey declare am by declaring variables be that. Now, later, if you can say sweet arts equal to strength, my love, we dey talk say this sweet arts variable we don't declare before. Now we dey set down, we dey assign now to my love. But the difference between declaration and assigning be this: for up here, we declare without assigning, and for here, we assign because we don't declare already. Of course, you fit declare and assign variable at the same time, like we don't dey do before. You see, we go say let sweetheart equal to something something. But if you never know wetin your variable go be, or if you just want declare am first, you fit declare am without assigning at the same time. You fit also assign a new variable to a variable we don't exist before. So let's say we get one variable a equal to the number 200, and then we declare another variable b. We fit make the value of b also 200 by simply saying b equal to a. Basically, wetin we dey achieve for here na say we dey talk say make the value of b the same as the value of a, because once we don't assign this a to 200, basically this a don't become 200. Now 200 in disguise. So when we dey say b equal to a, we dey say simply b equal to 200 as well. Very easy, very straightforward. Now, make I quickly talk about console.log, we don't dey use since. If you wonder, wetin be this console.log? Console.log just means say log the value of this code to our console. For JavaScript, if you want to see the output of your code, but again, I tell you, if you no run them for browser, you no will necessarily see the value. So now this console.log, we take the show the output to ourselves for inside our console before we push them to production. For Python, to do the same thing, we dey use print, but for JavaScript, we dey use console.log. One thing we will use this console.log do most of the time now to check the value of our variable at various points. So now, if I declare a variable for here without assigning the variable, I just declare am, then I console log this variable. Then later, I assign now to a value, then I console log this variable at this point. You go see say the result, the output for our console go dey different. When we never assign am, when we just declare am, the value go be null. But once we don assign am, the value go become wetin we assign am to. Na one of the uses of console log be that. Another thing wey I wan call your attention to before we proceed na dis semicolon wey we don dey add since. You fit dey wonder wetin be dis semicolon wey dem dey add for the end of these variables. Dis semicolon na wetin be standard for JavaScript to add at the end of the lines of your code. Not be necessarily at the end of everything, but at the end of parts of the code wey be say dem dey complete in themselves. Like this variable assigning now, e dey complete. Say, okay, we don finish wetin we dey do for this part, so we add semicolon. Then here we assign am, we don finish wetin we dey do for here, we add semicolon. We dey use am to sort of separate our code to be able to read am more clearly, so everything no go just jaga jaga. But this one no really dey compulsory. If you no add am, your code go still work. But developers dey do am as standard because e dey compulsory before. Now e no dey compulsory again. But still, developers still dey add am because e dey make the code easier to read. If you no wan use am, you fit no use am. But if you wan use am, you go use am. Now, before we proceed, I want make we do some exercises. First, I want initialize some variables. I go use var to initialize my variable instead of let. I tell you, you fit use anyone between var, let, and const. I will still tell you the difference later. Now, I will set my var a, that's variable a, to be equal to 10, var b to be equal to 20, and var c to be equal to string instead of number. We could make them equal to the string of I am. Now, for our exercises, we could change the value of these variables. So first, I go do a equal to a plus 1. Now, what's in the solution of this one? It could be 10 plus 1. Our 8 before, we set them to 10. So now we just they add 1. So the answer will be 11. Now, we go change b to be b plus 5. What will be the solution? B na 20. So 20 plus 5 could be 25. Now, just as we dey add numbers, we fit also add strings for JavaScript. So before we get our C variable to be the string I am, now we dey make C to be the previous C, which is I am, plus a new string, which is a boy. So wetin go be our final result? Our final result will be I am a boy. Now, when you don't understand how to set variables and how to change your variables, well, you set them by adding and joining strings. We go move on to cases for variables. They're very important to know. Say JavaScript variables, then they case sensitive. So you know if you just use any case variation of your variable, thing say you go work. What do I mean by case variation? It means say, for instance, if I use one variable and I call them my number variable and I write them like this, and then I won't use this variable later for my program, I can write them in all capital letters, or I mix capital and small letter like this. If I start to use this variable, it not go whoa, because this variable and this variable will be the same for the computer. For JavaScript, you know they recognize that as the same because every single change in your case, it is very important and it would change your variables completely. The convention, the standard we will get for JavaScript must say, if we dey name one single word, we dey name our variable as one single word, and we go use lowercase for everything. For instance, when we use our sweetheart variable, we use lowercase for everything because not just one word. If you want set maybe the color of one thing and you use them as variable color, color na still one word, so everything will be lowercase. Or if you want set one of our variable fruits to be fruits where we like, we go still use lowercase because na just one word. However, if the name we want use, if our variable name na more than one word, then we go use wetin that they call camel case. For instance, if I want set my variable name to be my sweetheart, I no go write am like this, say all small letters, because it would they add to read. So we go use my sweetheart with camel case. Wetin be camel case? Camel case means say we go write the first word. The first word could be small letter, and then the beginning of the next word could be capital letter. So if we get my sweetheart, we go write them like this. My, all in lowercase. Then the beginning of sweetheart, the S, go be in uppercase. Same if we get variable will be my color, the first word might go be small letter and the second word will be color. If it be 3 words, then the first word will be lowercase, then the start of the next words will be capital letter. So if you say maybe we want to write my favorite food variable, my could be small letter, favorite could be capital letter, and food will also start with capital letter. These examples now other examples of proper camel case. For our proper camel case variable now, you say proper the first word now all lowercase, then camel begin with capital letter, case begin with capital letter. Same with our use lowercase for single words variable. Use my all in small letter, then the next words begin with capital letter, every one of them. One thing you don't want to do for variables for JavaScript must say you don't want to use space. Never ever use space between your words. No. For instance, if you want to write my street art variable, you know if you put space at all, you don't know make any sense for programming. You guys be joined together, but with camel case. Still continuing with our lessons on variable. Now I tell you say to create variable for JavaScript with the use var, let, and const. Then the name of our variable then equal to the data everyone store inside the variable name. Now I want to tell you the major difference between var and let and const. The main difference is now whether we want change the data will restore later on for our program. That the first difference, and the second difference is scope. So const na the easiest to know. Const that how you go set a variable so you know go change at all for your program. Now you feel a thing say if we know the changer, then no be variable. Yes, technically no be variable, not constant because you know they vary. But still, we still technically they call them variables because we they assign now. So for our constants, anything we see, you know they change at all. Or you may even want to make the mistake of changing them by mistake. Just use const. Once you use const, the computer no will allow you change out. For instance, if I write this code now with const and I do my console log, and then I won't change them again later because this is my error it go bring because you know fi change them. Within this variable referred to no fi ever change for our program. Now with let and var, you fit change them later. For example, if I write this variable as var, I fit still reassign them later for my program. Same with let. If I write a variable and let, I fit still change them later. So what's going to be the difference? The difference now, first, if you want to change something with var, you fit still use var. For instance, if I set this variable using var and then I want to change them, I fit still use the var keyword before I change them. But if I set them with let, if I want to change them later, I move or use any keyword before the variable. I go just assign the variable. Like I tell you before, declaration and assignment. But with var, even when you declare, even when you reassign, you fit still use the var keyword. Why this difference? Then let's say doing it like this no good at all. Say if you don't set one variable with var, yet you won't set them, you can't set them with var again. You no good at all because now the best way to make errors for your program be that. Because sometimes you go don't set one variable as one value, and then another person will they work on your code. If you don't know, then you go one set the same variable. You go can't change the value, or the program will come break. But if you use legs, and now why most JavaScript code where you will see my legs must be the use. Because if you use legs, once you don't use legs to declare and assign your variable, if one person don't know, he won't can't declare again, can't use legs, you know go walk. As you they see for here, it go the true error say nope. Person don't use let to declare variable before. But now if you want to reassign them on purpose, you know go use let again. Because that one they show the computer so okay, this casino say the dog already declared this thing before. No be by mistake, then be declare them again to change the value. Another difference where I tell you na scope, but to understand wetin be scope for JavaScript and for programming in general, you go need to understand functions. So I will explain more about this when we do our lesson on functions. But for now, you don't make good progress already for your JavaScript journey. You don't understand data types, different kind of variables, different type of operation will you carry with your variables. You don't understand var, let, and const. Now we could move on to the next part of our program.